What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with a preview for the weekly reset coming to Destiny 2 this week on the 10th of June. So of course, the main thing players are focusing on, given that it's the main bit of content we have, is Rite of the Nine. As always, we'll cover what's relevant there this week with the continuation of Prophecy. Additionally though, we will have more reveals coming up for Edge of Fate, so Bungie have got live streams planned this month, and there'll be extra blog posts rolling out. In addition to that though, focusing more on the game, we'll cover all of the featured rewards this week, as well as activities, adept weapons that we'll be able to earn for the final time, as well as other relevant content and a handful of updates from Bungie. So, as always guys, if you do enjoy the content, get subscribed to the channel, but otherwise now, let's get into it. Starting out, of course, Heresy has now wrapped up, so we're not getting any more weekly story or seasonal challenges, but if you want to finish anything up, like the title, any of the grind on the Nether, then of course we can continue to do that. Otherwise, Bungie are going to continue the conversation about Edge of Fate, so they've said the weekly blog posts in the form of TWID will now be packed with Edge of Fate info, so we can expect the same this week on Thursday. Additionally though, this month, worth bearing in mind, I think 2 weeks from today, there'll be another live stream where Bungie will go into more detail about the new systems. That will be on June 24th. Then, there'll be an additional live stream on July 1st, which will be, of course, just a couple of weeks away from the launch of Edge of Fate. And it will certainly be interesting to see what Bungie have to say regarding upcoming changes. So keep it locked and loaded for those, and I'll keep you up to date on all of the news. For the Rite of the Nine specifically this week, of course Prophecy was featured last week for the first time, so we're finally able to get access to those weapons. We did get 2 quests available last week at the Emissary. Bungie have said another one will be waiting after the weekly reset, so we'll be able to go after another one of the holofoil weapons, and increased rewards and drops from all enemies will be turned on inside of Prophecy as well. So if you did want to farm Prophecy for weapons, this week will actually be one of the better weeks. Then of course later in the rotation we'll get multiple dungeons featured and additional boosts that Bungie have outlined previously. Either way, good luck on the hunt if you are diving back into Prophecy this week. The same applies if you're still farming any rewards from Sundered Doctrine, which is still the featured dungeon. If you're after legendaries or of course the exotic, that will refresh with the weekly reset. Then we have the relevant pinnacle drops coming from the Pale Heart co-op missions. Of course we can also get them from Salvation's Edge and the Excision mission, although I don't know how many players are actually chasing power at this point. For the Nightfall this week though, we'll see the Inside Terminus featured, and as Bungie outlined the other day, they'll no longer be producing new adept weapons for Nightfalls, trials, or whatever else it may be because of the new tiering system they're introducing. So this week will be the final time to obtain the Shadow Price Adept. So if you do want to get one of those to add to the vault and maybe never use because it's not tier 5, then I guess that's something to think about. Otherwise, Trials will return to the Crucible on Friday, where we'll get the Keen Thistle Adept featured for the final time as well. So given that Bungie are moving away from the Adept terminology, it's worth keeping those in mind if you do want to finish up those collections. When it comes to the featured raids this week though, we should see Deepstone Crypt, where of course we can pick up the Eyes of Tomorrow rocket launcher, as well as the legendary loot, so if you want to farm for any of those, there'll be no loot lockouts while it is featured. Then over on Neptune, the same will apply to Root of Nightmares, where we can get the Conditional Finality exotic. A couple of exotics certainly worth grabbing there, so something to think about. On top of that, the Spire of the Watcher dungeon is going to be featured this week. That's actually outside of Rite of the Nine, so if you want to pick up the Hierarchy of Needs, it's a good opportunity to go into there. Or indeed, if you got Hierarchy from the quest for Rite of the Nine, which was a fairly easy way to actually get it, the thing is getting a buff in Edge of Fate, so it's probably worth also trying to get the Catalyst, and you can check in on videos on how to get that if you are missing it currently, so something to think about this week given that the weapon is getting a buff. Otherwise, the Shattered Throne in the Dreaming City will also be a featured dungeon this week. For exotic missions though, in the Legends tab, this week we are going to get Wishkeeper from Starcrossed featured, so if you missed that exotic or any of the upgrades, we're able to jump in and farm for them this week. For our final few mentions though, inside of the Dares of Eternity on top of the core loot drops, this week we've got Scatterhorn and Pathfinder armor sets available, as well as a bunch of weapons from Season of Defiance and a couple of world drops from Forsaken, which will be additional random drops at the end of the activity. For the featured Lost Sectors this week though, for Tuesday we'll have the Broken Deep in the Pale Heart featured, then on the 11th of June it'll move over to Blooming Deep, with the 12th of June featuring Bunkery 15. Then on June 13th we'll have Perdition, followed by Vel's Labyrinth on the 14th, Exodus Garden 2A featured for June 15th, and finally on the 16th we'll have Aphelion's Rest in the Dreaming City. So if you want to use those Lost Sectors to farm any world weapon drops or exotic engrams for solo clears, they are worth jumping into this week. The final mention for the moment, though, is for the Ascendant Challenge in the Dreaming City, and this week we'll get Sumerian Garrison featured in Ria Silvia, which can be accessed via Chamber of Starlight. So if you're still completing any of those for bounties or whatever, that'll be the featured one this week. But otherwise, for the moment, guys, that is what we have to break down in the video. So as always, I hope this one has been helpful. Once again, keep it locked and loaded. I'm sure Bungie are going to have plenty of conversation and updates regarding Edge of Fate, possibly even updates regarding some of the concerns for some of those upcoming systems. So if you're interested to hear more about that stuff, stay locked and loaded here on the channel, hit subscribe and the notification bell so I can keep you up to date. Otherwise, if you've enjoyed the video, let us know in the comment section if you'll be diving back into Destiny 2. Plus, a rating really does help us out on the channel as well. Otherwise though, cheers for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.